folks. Audio. Test the mic. Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Not there yet.
Good. Dan, you're the only one plugged in.
Yeah, I'm getting there.
Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I'm not getting anything from it. Let me make sure it's not.
Testing. 1, 2, 3. No. You have a clip you want to put on here?
We have a lot of them. So you want the whole thing? Like everybody else uses. The other one's so hard.
Good morning, members of the press. How's everybody doing today on this bright, sun-filled Detroit morning? Great. My pleasure to call this meeting to order. I'm Dan Carmody, CEO of Eastern Market Partnership, the nonprofit that manages Eastern Market on behalf of the city of Detroit. And it's my pleasure today to welcome you and our distinguished guests. And for those of you who don't know, Eastern Market's been around since 1891. And all that we do, a lot of programs, a lot of capital projects. One sentence would be, we try to leverage the wonderful history of Eastern Market to nourish a Detroit that's healthier, wealthier, and happier. And I couldn't be happier to introduce our U.S. representatives. Please welcome Sherry Dellender for a few comments.
I don't think that, is that just hooked up to the one station? This is not a mic, right? No. Okay.
All right.
Thanks.
Good morning. Thank you for all being here. My name is Shri Thanedar. I represent city of Detroit and the entire 13th district. And I'm so proud to welcome the secretary to my district here. I think one of the highlights of our district is the Eastern Market. And being an immigrant, having come to United States when I was 24 years old, started a small business with just $3,000 on my credit card as my working capital. I'm an entrepreneur at heart, and coming to Eastern Market always excites me because I see a lot of entrepreneurs, and I see the small farmers, and I see the enthusiasm, the struggles, I see the hard work that they do, and the struggles to increase their revenues, the struggles to make payroll every 2 weeks, the struggles to make a little bit of money for their families, make a little bit of money so they can invest back into their businesses. So I have seen the struggles, I have firsthand experienced the struggles of being a small entrepreneur, and now as a U.S. Congressman, I sit on the Small Business Committee, I sit on the entrepreneurship committees and workforce development. So I've seen both sides. I've seen the being an entrepreneur, the struggles of an entrepreneur, and now I'm seeing being in government. And what matters here is that, the thing is that I find that the small mama papa shops don't have the infrastructure, don't have the time to navigate through all of the federal government's regulations, and trying to, there are, like the secretary mentioned, there are 50 different projects, grants and loan programs available through his department. The Small Business Committee that I sit on has several dozens of programs, but to navigate through all of that for a small business who's already struggling to stay in the market, keep their products going, keep increasing their revenues, it is very, very hard. And how do they access without spending days and days of work in going through the regulations? So one of the things that I'm working in Washington, D.C. is streamlining that operation so that we want to make sure that no more than 30 minutes, if a small business owner could get through the websites, go to the right places, make an application, and know whether he or she is qualified, his or her business is qualified or not. So that is what we need to do. I know the big big agriculture businesses are doing good. The large corporations are doing good. They're very profitable. But it's the little guys, the little small businesses that are struggling and hurting, and it's important for us to make it easy for them through the government grants and loan programs. And it's all about lifting the small farmers up to give them the access, also helping the black and brown entrepreneurs who have traditionally had difficulty in getting access to federal dollars. And so that's what I'm focusing on in Washington, D.C., working through U.S. Congress. That's what I'm focusing on, working through the small business committees and entrepreneurship and workforce development. I'm excited because my bill, a bipartisan bill that I am doing with an U.S. congressman on a Republican side, we're putting together a bill that just got passed through my committee that's about workforce development, creating apprenticeship programs for small businesses. So it's all about helping our small businesses and helping them get the resources they need and they deserve to grow and be successful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Every panel about food systems should have a farmer on it, I think.
I think so.
And we're blessed to have one who actually has recently been anointed as the Michigan Department of Agriculture and Rural Development's presiding officer. Please welcome Dr. Tim Boring to the stage.
All right, Tim.
Well, thank you, Dan. Welcome, Secretary Vilsack. Excited to be here at Eastern Market today. Eastern Market exemplifies an agricultural system in Michigan that works. It's a shining example of what resiliency looks like in action, what diversity looks like in action. Governor Whitmer and the Department of Agriculture have been proud supporters of Eastern Market. In the past, we've had significant contributions to the capacity that's going on here. In previous budgets, we look forward to continuing those partnerships and really looking at Eastern Market as an example of what a stronger food system could look like for Michigan as a whole. Integrating both rural aspects with the urban, understanding that a resilient, diverse food system supports both small operations and all the way up to larger operations of diversified markets, stronger food systems. It's a pleasure to partner with Eastern Market. It's a pleasure to work with the Secretary and USDA on supporting these important kind of efforts for Michigan. So I'm thrilled that you're here and look forward to continued partnership. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. And one of my greatest pleasures of being here for 15 years or 16 years has been to meet the acquaintance of the senior senator from the state of Michigan. Please welcome to the stage Senator Debbie Stabenow.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, hello, good morning. I love Eastern Market. This is such an exciting place to be. It's wonderful to have the Secretary back. We don't have to tell Secretary Vilsack, or frankly, the President of the United States, the importance of having local and regional food systems, because they're working on it and committed to doing things every single day as partners with me on our Senate Agriculture Committee and with our colleagues. What you're seeing here really is what happens locally with leadership, what happens with the state with leadership, federal folks, and most importantly, our farmers, our growers, the people that take the risk, that fight the weather, and are engaged in growing the safest, most abundant, most affordable food system in the world. And that is a reality. We're the longest continuously running farmers market in the country right here. I always say we have the second most diversity of crops to any place but California, but somebody said to me, we ought to say we have the most diversity of crops of any place with water. So that is now what I'm saying, because the truth of the matter is we grow it here, we make it here, and we want to keep doing it. So today we are celebrating that, and when we talk about from farm to fork and all the ties to the community, That's what we're celebrating. We're talking about what we are doing federally to leverage and help partner in many ways. We saw what happened during the pandemic when supply chains were shut down, and when it didn't make sense to have 4 big meat processing operations in the whole country doing and by the way, 2 of them foreign. So it didn't make sense. We need to do it regionally. We need to do it here, which is what we're doing here. Regional, local systems. And so working with the secretary, I've been doing that to make sure we have resources to support local and regional meat processing, and now other kinds of processing, and how we leverage what we do to add value. Someone may start out growing something and be here on Saturday, and then they may come and be here on Tuesday as well. And then they go to the kitchen incubator and they ramp up the volume, right? And then they get more customers, and then they may go to a storefront in a neighborhood and help rebuild a neighborhood. I mean, this is about jobs, it's about community, it's about tackling the climate crisis, it's about a number of things, including making sure people have healthy, nutritious food. So over 2 million people shop and buy food at Eastern Market every year, not counting all the other farmers markets across the state. And that equates to over 1,300 jobs and growing. So this is a real economic engine. And when we look about the things that we are doing, we now have a Great Lakes Midwest Regional Food Business Center to help entrepreneurs be able to get the business plan, be able to get the financing, to be able, again, to leverage resources to be able to grow. That's really what it's all about. So we're so glad the Secretary's here. I'm glad you're here every day. This is something that Detroiters have led on forever in terms of urban agriculture. We've now taken that vision and made it a permanent part of our federal agricultural policy through this thing we call the Farm Bill. It's not a little thing on the side. This is a major part of our vision of the food economy and of growing jobs and creating healthy opportunities for food and tackling the climate crisis. And so I'm just proud of what each of you do. Thank you. And I'm going to turn it over to Secretary Vilsack. We've been together here for the longest serving Secretary of Agriculture, I think, in the second longest. Okay. In the history of the country. We are really lucky to have somebody with his vision and providing the leadership. So thank you, Secretary.
Thank you.
Well, there are so many reasons to thank Senator Stabenow, first for the kind introduction, but most importantly for her extraordinary work as the chair of the Senate Ag Committee. There is nobody who understands the significance and importance of local and regional food systems and markets like Eastern Market than Debbie Stabenow. As a result of her understanding and the education that you all at Eastern Market have given her, she's taken this information to Washington, D.C. and begun the process over the last 10 years, really, of incorporating programs and opportunities in the Farm Bill so that there will be consistent and constant support for local and regional food systems. And it is a way in which that small entrepreneurial farmer, Congressman, who's so important to the Congressman, will be able to receive the assistance and help necessary for them to continue to produce the amazing array and diversity of what is showcased here at Eastern Market. Mr. Director, I know that we have partnered with your department, will continue to do so. Excited about the opportunities that we have provided to the department through the Resilient Infrastructure Grant Program that hopefully will allow additional processing of non-meat and poultry to take place, perhaps here at Eastern Market, but certainly across the state of Michigan. You know, the reality is we've been pretty busy here at USDA in Michigan. Let me just give you a couple of highlights of what we've recently announced here in Michigan. We're focused on creating more new and better markets, and that's why it was important for us to partner with the Department of Education and Eastern Market. The Eastern Market was one of 8 awardees who received a local food purchasing assistance cooperative agreement. And what this is, it's providing Eastern Market several $1 million to be able to purchase product from local producers and then in turn provide that product to local schools. We're going to continue to support those kinds of programs. In fact, we just announced an investment in our school feeding program to the state of Michigan. We announced a $35.5 million award to the state of Michigan to provide additional resources to schools across Michigan to be able to purchase a bit more easily the food for school lunch and school breakfast programs this fall. So, Director, I'm pretty sure that a lot of that money is going to be spent here in the state of Michigan, helping Michigan farmers and producers. We didn't stop there. We also provided $29.5 million to the state to allow it to distribute resources to food banks, pantries, and community kitchens, to also be able to sponsor and to support small and mid-sized farming operations here in Michigan to provide the nutritious food that is necessary for food banks and community kitchens to be able to continue to do the good work of taking care of families who are struggling. So that's one example. Another example is the work that we are engaged in building capacity. The reality is that there are a lot of different programs, and it is important and necessary for farmers and producers to know where those programs are and to take full advantage of them. That's why it was important for us to establish regional food business centers. Now, these business centers are being funded through work that the chairwoman was responsible for in the passage of the American Rescue Plan. These business centers, there are 12 of them located across the country. One of them happens to be located right here in the state of Michigan, with Michigan State University being sort of the lead entity that will oversee the operation of this center. Now, what this center will do is it will provide two very important components. One, it's going to provide technical assistance. If someone's interested in strengthening or growing and expanding a local and regional food system, that food business center will provide the technical expertise to allow those entities or individuals to be able to better understand the challenges that they need to face and how they might be able to overcome them. Secondly, we're also going to be able to provide the financial assistance. As the Congressman indicated, there are many, many programs, both in the Department of Commerce, but also in the Department of Agriculture, to assist these local and regional food businesses. And the key here is making sure that farmers and ranchers and producers know where the programs are and how to access them. We're excited about the fact that we've established 17 urban food centers, one of them in Detroit. And those centers will also have a Farm Service Agency office located in the city to provide assistance and help and information for farmers here in Detroit. They might be able to access a microloan, a $50,000 loan, 7-year payout, low interest rate to get started. They may be able to then potentially transition to a larger ownership and operating loan from FSA. So exciting times in terms of building capacity. We're also expanding competition by investing in processing. There's a facility, the turkey producers here in the state of Michigan received a grant to expand their processing capacity. We've also increased the ability of some to expand their markets beyond just selling in-state to interstate sales. The Morrow facility that's located in Detroit was a recipient of one of those grants. So we've been extraordinarily active and involved here at USDA in the state of Michigan and in Detroit. And finally, just last week, we announced a $1.3 million grant to Working Roots, which is designed to really assist in developing a strategy for land ownership and market access. For many producers, particularly minority producers, it's a little bit difficult to get started because where do you find the land? How do you afford the land? And that's why we essentially put resources out across the country to a variety of programs, including Work at Roots here in Michigan, to be able to provide resources to figure out the best strategies for how we can expand land access and market access to historically underserved producers, to producers of color, and to small and mid-sized producers. And it's something, frankly, that I think the Department of Agriculture will learn from, and certainly the Ag Committee will learn from, in terms of how to expand access to the land. we have a lot of vacant lots here in the city of Detroit that could be converted into very profitable farming operations. So hopefully that grant will help facilitate and accelerate that. And with that, happy to try to answer any questions, and if they're really difficult, we'll let the senator answer.
Press, questions?
What would you like? I think we'll probably do this more, since we don't have a microphone, we'll get up and put the demos right here. So I don't know if there are questions or...
I'm curious, Secretary, is this your first trip to Eastern Market?
No.
Okay.
No.
Been here before?
You know, when you got the chair of the Ag Committee, there are two things that every time I see Debbie Stabenow, she says, within the first 5 minutes or so of our getting together. One, Eastern Market. Two, second most diverse, the most diverse ag economy with water. I've got to change that. The message has changed. No, listen, she is a terrific proponent, and she's learned a lot from this Eastern Market. This is the market's been around. There's no reason why this can't be replicated in other cities in Michigan, for that matter, and in other cities across the United States.
Can you give us an update on the current Farm Bill?
Yes, yeah. Well, we, as you know, the Farm Bill is written every 5 years, and I'm hopeful we're going to have this done by the end of the year. It never quite hits the date. You know, you usually end up with a short-term extension. We'll see. But sometime this fall, we're working on it very, very hard, and we're going to put together a bipartisan Farm Bill in the Senate. It's going to be a little bit more challenging in the House of Representatives, but I feel confident that the committee in the House, we're working very closely with the chairman in the House and the ranking member and my Republican partner in the Senate. So we're working hard. We want to build on what we did in 2018, which, among other things, was to make permanent the kinds of things we are talking about now as a local, regional food systems, urban agriculture. We also provide, even without the additional funding that we did with the Inflation Reduction Act on climate, this is the largest investment in land and water conservation our country makes. It was already in the Farm Bill. So very, very important for rural and urban communities, land and water conservation, energy, the whole range of things. And it's the farmer safety net and the family safety net in terms of nutrition. So it's important to get done, and I'm laser focused on getting it done.
Can I just add a comment? First of all, I appreciate the chairwoman's insistence that the resources in the Inflation Reduction Act that are historic for conservation be preserved.
Yes.
Because those resources are absolutely critical for farmers and ranchers and producers all across this country to be able to deal with the consequences of a changing climate. So that's incredibly important. And it's also important that that Farm Bill continue the momentum that started really in 2014 under her leadership, continued in 2018 with her leadership, and now in 2023. To be able to support local and regional food systems is a critical component to a more resilient national food system, which we learned during the pandemic was something the country needed to do.
Any other questions, folks?
Well, thanks so much for coming out today.
Thanks everybody for coming.
Yeah, thanks. All right. Thank you, guys.
Well, you know,
then talk about the black and brown entrepreneurs, farmers. Very little of that trickles down to the black and brown community and their entrepreneurs in that community. So this is all benefiting bigger corporations. We need to see more investment, more incentives, more loan programs, more grants, all accessible to the small farmers, rural farmers, urban farmers, black and brown farmers, because they are the ones that need to lift up. The very larger corporations are doing just fine, very profitable. And how do we get the resources from the federal government to the benefit of the small farmers